welcome to another episode of Life Interrupted. Now, I want everyone to know that this podcast does deal with real life events. So if you've experienced a trauma in the past, some of these stories and interviews may have some triggers for you. So listener, viewer discretion is advised. This podcast is also not supposed to take the place of any medical help. So if you need medical aid, need therapy, please seek out the correct professionals. All right, let's start. So I want to talk today about grief brain. And this is an actual real condition when people have experienced a loss of any kind, whether it's a loss of a loved one, a loss of a house, or a loss of your car, your job. It happens with all of us. It's called grief brain, and it's really a real thing. So, stressful life events. Now, there's a list of some stressful life events that happen, and this is not exhaustive, and we each respond differently to each of them. It is up to us to grade them with either a 1, which is very low, up to 100, which is very high in regards to the stress it would place upon each of us. So here's the list. The death of a spouse or a mate, death of a close family member, a major illness or injury, detention in jail or other institution, major injury or an illness to a close family member, foreclosure on a loan or mortgage, divorce, victim of a crime, victim of police brutality, infidelity, domestic violence or sexual abuse, separation or reconciliation of a spouse or mate, being fired, laid off, or unemployed, financial problems or difficulties, death of a close friend, or surviving a disaster. And again, this isn't exhaustive, but these are some of the major ones that cause a lot of stress in our lives. Our brains respond to traumatic loss the same as it would in any survival situation. Every time we experience a trigger from that traumatic event, our bodies go into that fight or flight response all over again, which to me is just so crazy because every time, so once we experience that event, that happens. And then every time we get a trigger, it happens all over again. Where our brain goes into that fight or flight, it's like experiencing it all over again. And those who have had PTSD or have PTSD know that their bodies react the same way as they did when they initially experienced that trauma with any trigger that they have. Chronic stress can have widespread effects on the mind, brain, body, memory, behavior, sleep, immune system, and heart function. This graphic that's up shows the difference in the brain's neuroplasticity. And the neuroplasticity is just a medical term of our brain's ability to adapt by forming new neural connections throughout our life. And during those high and low stress, this is what our neuroplasticity looks like. So during high stress, there's low nerve growth, low capacity for memory, and increased fear. During low stress, there is high nerve growth, high memory retention, and low fear. This graphic is from a webcast done by Dr. Lisa Schulman, and I'll put the link in the video details. It's a really good webcast. It's her and some other doctors of the Brain Institute. And about half the podcast, she discusses the stress effects on the brain. And she does have a book out. And the other half is answering questions. It's a very good broadcast. So, emotional trauma can cause memory impairment. It can disrupt our ability to solve problems and make plans. It can disrupt our ability to analyze visual patterns and images. It can impair our attention, impair our ability to find the right words when we're trying to convey our thoughts, whether it be through spoken word or writing, ability to process information, and the rate at which that information is processed. The most important job of the brain is to ensure our survival. Even under the most miserable conditions, everything else is secondary. Bessel van der Kolk, in his book, The Body Keeps Score. Just like when our bodies are injured, when we experience emotional or mental trauma, our hearts, souls, and minds are also wounded. We need to care for those wounds or they will just fester. Our bodies are remarkable and can heal on their own, but just like a fractured bone that has not been set correctly after it's been broken, our minds and souls will not heal correctly if not cared for correctly. When we think about healing, there are some steps that we can take to process and properly heal. And of course, again, these are not exhaustive, but these are some really good basic things. And Dr. Lisa Schulman shares these in her webcast that she does. So let's look at them. So how can we help our minds and our bodies heal? So the first thing we can do is we can journal. Journaling provides private space to express our thoughts with no need to censor. It can help us see our grief journey from a different point of view, especially when we go back and read through the past after we've gone through that process. It helps to get the negative emotions out so that we are not keeping them locked inside where they will fester and infect our soul. So after my husband passed, I actually, because I was huge on Facebook, I put stuff out there all the time. And I knew that I wanted to correctly process the grief the way that I needed to. So I picked up several books on losing a spouse, on losing someone you love. And I actually did all my journaling on Facebook. So sometimes I get memories that come up and it tells me what I went through, and I can go back to those days and I can look at what I went through at certain times. So, and of course, now on Facebook, I didn't have to censor myself. But if you journal in a book or journal in a computer, you don't have to censor yourself. You can say what you want. You can spew out your feelings. Get that stuff out there. It's not good for it to just stay in our souls and fester. And one of the things I wanted to do, because I knew I wanted to get remarried, is I did not want to take all that unhealed baggage into a new relationship with me. And that can also happen when we lose friendships. When we have a really good, close friendship with someone, and then they take that away from us, or we have a fight, or something happens so that relationship is no longer there, we can actually carry that baggage over into a new friendship. And so we don't want to do that. We want to process and heal those wounds so that anything that happens in the new friendship, the new marriage, doesn't trigger. Now, some things have still triggered. My new husband has triggered some things, but we sit and we talk about them, and I try to understand why some of those things that he does or says, which seem very innocuous, they still trigger things in me. We have found that those things actually have even gone way back as far into my youth as when I was a child. He's still triggering some of those things, and I'm realizing these things, and I'm even healing from some of those things that happened to me as a child, which is really cathartic. It's really good. So we need to heal properly. Now, dreaming helps us to process the events of the day. If we're dreaming, it also means that we're asleep and we're resting, which is so very important for health and wellness. Our bodies need rest to heal and maintain normal processes. Also, keeping a dream journal helps to try to understand and process our trauma and our grief. So make sure, I know it sounds very basic, make sure you eat, drink, sleep, get some exercise. Those things seem very basic, but when you've experienced a traumatic event, even those things can get challenging. It can get difficult. Make sure you take care of yourself. Even if you have to sit down and write a checklist, okay, check it off. I brushed my teeth. Check it off. I drank some water. Check it off. I ate. So it is very important to take care of your body so it can heal properly, so you can process things properly. There's also meditation. So Meditation helps you create a safe space. So after we have been traumatized by something, we don't feel safe anymore. Our world has literally been blown apart. My daughter said something after my husband passed away, and she said, which is her stepdad, and she said, I feel like my world has been blown apart and put back together wrong, which is very accurate when you're experiencing a death or a loss of some kind. And so you feel like your life isn't stable. And creating that safe space of meditation, it helps you feel like you're in control and you at least have control of your mind and your emotions. And once you get used to it, your body. So it helps to create a safe space. It is best to be done, especially if you have a very traumatic event, under the supervision of a meditation therapist, as some of the memories, some of the things, even the meditation can trigger emotional events. It also helps to process strong emotions caused by trauma or loss, which tends to make us feel anxious or vulnerable. So be sure to take care of yourself. Do that journaling. Read books. I will post some of the books that I read during my grief journey. And I will, of course, put the link for Dr. Lisa Schulman's podcast or her webcast up. And just take care of yourself. Remember that it's a journey. I wish we could just snap our fingers and it'd be done. I wish we could put a timeline on it and it would be done within those certain periods of time. But we all have different, our grief journeys are different about different things because we're different people. But it does affect our brain. I've talked to so many people after I lost my husband. I spoke to people after they had a loss. Some people who have lost loved ones, some people who have lost friends, some people, women who have lost their husbands, and they always say the same thing. I can't think. I'm a very organized person, and I can't even remember things right now. And I'm like, that's because you're experiencing grief brain. There's a saying that bad things happen in threes. And after I lost my husband, that was the major one. We got sick with COVID. We both ended up in the hospital. And so he passed away. And then right after that, I was involved in an accident, a car accident where my car was totaled. And then after that, I lost my house. Long story. And then after that, I lost my best friend. He took his own life and didn't say goodbye, and I'm still reeling from that. So within a matter of just, it was like 6-7 months, all this stuff happened. And then even after that, I moved in with a friend, and then I had to move out from that friend's house. And then I moved in with my mother and took care of her for a while, who started having the first stages of dementia. I got married, even though it's a good kind of stress and brings good things into my life, it still was another change. And my poor dog, you can't see her. She's back here hiding behind me because of the storm. But that poor dog has experienced all this too. And dogs and little children don't understand, and they're trying to process. So I have to be very considerate of my dog's feelings because she has such separation anxiety after losing her father. And then he had a dog and I lost her too. He had a little bitty dog, a Chiweenie, and she got sick and she passed away. That was my dog's alpha dog. She has lost her daddy. She's lost her alpha dog. She's lost her home. She has moved as many times as her mom has moved. And I have to be very cognizant of her feelings. When I leave the house, she is watching me. She is just making sure. I have to tell her, I will be back. I will be back. I promise. It's even traumatic for our dogs, and they don't even know we can at least process and understand and try and heal from it. And it's really difficult for dogs. So we have to be very understanding of our dog's emotions or our pets' emotions. So there's a podcast for today. I do have an ebook coming out that will help with pre-death stuff to things to think about, and then funeral stuff, and then post-funeral things, whether it be for you or for a loved one. It just give you some ideas of things you need to consider during those times. Be sure to check out my other podcasts. The next podcast putting up, I'm doing an interview with an author, Vicki Skinner, and I'm very excited about that. She is also experienced some tragic deaths in her life and has had to process some things. I would love to interview someone else of different religions. I'm a Christian, and all the people I'm interviewing so far have been Christians. And I would love to hear from someone who isn't a Christian, someone who is Muslim, someone who's Buddhist, someone who's of a different religion. I'd love to interview you and get your insight and your experiences with death and grief. Okay, well, thank you very much. Remember, if you need help, please, there are tons of grief support places out there. There are hotlines. There are ways you can vent anonymously. Be sure to keep your journal. And join me next time when we interview Vicki Skinner. All right. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.